And look, you know, at ARM, our perspective has very much been that we are in support of a regulated, legalised raw milk industry. We believe that the community wants raw milk producers to be able to bring that beautiful, wholesome product to them, to their communities, and that's what we're committed to. So, and we do often have, you know, all manner of suggestions from people saying, you know, just tell those producers to call it pet milk and, you know, all manner of creative things. And really our perspective is raw milk is out of the closet, it's time to move forward, and we're not going back. So that's what we're committed to at ARM. Okay, well I think you might start off some questions, and given that we had overnight regulation change in Victoria and a fair bit of fear-mongering and negative press, I thought we might just jump straight into the safety of raw milk. And naturally that first question is going to go to the microbiologist. So Christian, tell us, from the perspective of science, is raw milk safe? I know that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question, so I was just going to clarify. That was actually something I was starting to talk about before, because realistically, when we're looking at raw milk, not all raw milk's the same. The raw milk that comes from a commercial industrialised facility is going to be something very different to something as Joseph mentioned about, where animals are allowed to freely roam, they're allowed to pasture, and these are the types of things that really do impact on the safety of the milk. I don't want to sort of overwhelm people because I can start talking about chemical processes and all these other things, but there's certain antimicrobial functions that are naturally present in milk. This type of milk is everything from cows to goats to sheep to humans, and this is actually one of the things that seems to be across the board in all mammals. They'll have a lot of these protective factors in them. So when we're talking about safety, if you're allowing the milk to be in a natural form where enzymes and things like lactoperoxidase or other proteins like lactoferrin that have natural antimicrobial properties, some of these actually specifically bind to pathogenic bacteria and prevent them from attaching to the internal surface of their gastrointestinal tract, and that's how they'll normally colonise and cause gastro-like presentations. The lactoperoxidase, it's a complex chemical system, but essentially generates very short-lived antioxidant. I've lost the word now. Oxidant properties that actually damage the cell membranes and actually kill those bacteria. You've also got other components in the milk that you'll actually have white blood cells, because essentially milk is just an extension of the blood. So if you've got an animal that's raised in a nice environment where it's not stressed, where there's not inflammation in its digestive system because it's been fed grains and other refuse from the food industry but allowed to naturally pasture, all that inflammation will be downregulated. So you're not going to have as many of these pro-inflammatory components that are going to pass from the blood and present itself in the milk. So when we're talking about the safety of it, once again, if we're looking at animals that are well looked after, they're clean, they're healthy, they're happy, that's actually going to lead to a much better quality milk compared to something that's commercially manufactured that way. Also, when we're talking about the safety of raw milk too, if you are looking at cows that are fed on antibiotics and all these other things, that's also going to be able to transfer its way from the blood into milk there too. So whether or not people will be drinking raw milk from a conventional farm where they may be spraying pesticides and herbicides and things like that, maybe that might not be a very good thing or it's definitely not a good thing for people to be consuming. But using organic or biodynamic farming practices, you definitely you're not going to be exposed to that. So once again, it's a healthful product. So if the milk is also collected in appropriate manners and the equipment that's used is appropriately cleaned and sanitised, once again you're minimising any type of pathogenic bacteria that are going to be introduced into the milk. Also making sure that the animals aren't standing in their own faeces, so there's no contamination up on the underbelly or on the teats themselves. You're minimising any risk of contamination. So when, as Rebecca had mentioned beforehand, if you're looking at a system that's regulated and legislated and particular critical control points are met along the way, you're going to be producing a very, very high quality product, which in the end really shouldn't be causing any human issues at all.
So, in a nutshell, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Raw milk is safe, but there are three sort of critical things to think about. So, healthy cows,
Healthy cows.
the health of the soil and the environment and the inputs that the cows live within, and then the hygiene and storage. Is that right?
Yeah. So as long as the milk is cooled after it's collected, it's kept clean, and it's also kept covered, so it's not other influences aren't coming in. You're actually going to produce a very high quality product in the end.
Excellent.